Okay, so hello and welcome to the Dawn of Writing podcast, where we talk about some really bad writing and perhaps some writing mistakes that are made so that you don't have to make them. With me, I have Rega and Hesketh. If you guys want to jump in and introduce yourselves. Rega.
Sure. Hello, I'm Rhaegar. I'm the writer of Dawn, which is not very bad writing. What are you talking about? It's like bad, but there's light.
There was genius to it. There was subtle genius to it.
It's light, but it's like dim.
It's so subtle that no one can see it.
Yeah.
Black paint on a black canvas.
Yeah, it's like contemporary. It's very special stuff.
I'm Hesketh. I am a random writer who is here to express herself.
Wonderful.
Isn't that what we're all here for?
Yes.
On this planet to express ourselves.
I'm here to express.
I mean,
I'm not salty.
Mostly laughter. Mostly laughter is what we're here to express.
Is that what people do? I don't know. I guess
some more than others.
Yes, indeed. And today we are finishing off chapter 3 of Dawn. So for everyone who's reading along at home, you can hopefully find the link in the description of whenever we finally get around to actually posting this. And you will find that we are up to the M- line of can't wait to find bloody elves.
Yeah. Somewhere in the middle of the chapter. Yeah. I hope that by the time this comes out, we can just be like, oh, it's published. You can get the ebook. You can check it out.
Dawn.
This would actually be funny. There's no rules. If it's not false advertising, right? I don't know if Amazon allows it.
What?
They allow bad
quality
books.
control.
Yeah, quality control, but the words are there. It's quality control is only for if there's missing pages and shit, right? If the story is actually there and I don't know what they do.
Remove it just for spelling mistakes.
Would they remove it for spelling mistakes?
Yeah, potentially.
Well, I think you can report spelling mistakes, and if the author doesn't fix them, they get enough quality reports, I think they can actually take it down.
But there's no spelling mistakes, so I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah, you could probably be fine. This is perfect writing, as we said before.
Absolutely.
Okay, we could publish it somewhere else, not Amazon. Let's just do our own website. Dawn.com. It is already.
If you make it clear to everyone who buys it that this book is this is the reason why it's being published, and people don't complain, then you'll be fine.
It could just be just put it up on Patreon, I guess, or whatever. It's an ebook, on dark Discord service somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into it, I guess. Can't wait to find bloody elves. That was the last line we talked about last time. So I think it was Georg and the woman, the city planner, who are walking around. Agrid.
Yeah, Agrid. The female giant.
Talking about the wall, which is the only thing we know in the city. And there was a square as well, which
a city square that was not square. Yes,
we're not sure in the shape of said square, but there is a square. Okay, so they seem to have reached their destination. That is funny already. This is we talked about this last time with the seemingly, or maybe, and what did they reach their destination?
Yeah,
and they sauntered vaguely southwards. Seemingly to
and also when he says seemed to, does he who is he talking to? To himself, he's just oh, they seem to have reached their destination. Why?
Yeah. As Agrid started to talk with the people gathering there. Okay, this is just a very weird way to, I don't know. Started to talk. Georg assumed the talk to be over and went to his next station. What?
Very strange.
Weren't they on patrol or something?
Weren't they supposed to do something? Maybe I forgot in the middle. I was what were they supposed to? I guess, they talked to each other about stuff and then they reached their destination. But what wasn't the destination supposed to do something?
Just makes it sound like Hagrid's socializing.
Yeah, Hagrid reached their destination, I guess, and Georg is like, okay, I'm moving on. It just seems very
Georg
unclear.
was kind of like, yeah, because like it says earlier up, they were like, you'll finally hear Georg, cut that smug look and come walk with me.
Okay, so they're just like kind of walking whilst she gives him like a status update, and they just kind of discuss some stuff.
Yeah, maybe it means like the talk with Hagrid is over.
Yeah. Talk to me. I mean, that's what I assumed, right?
To other people.
Yeah, but it just was kind of weird. Like, I don't know. Like, Georg is like this antisocial, like, oh, I don't, was there a talk?
He's like, I'll just hang around in case someone wants to say something to me, and then they don't. So, okay, I'll just.
It's like, I'll go
to
my
next
basically in mid-conversation. He basically says, can't wait to find bloody elves. They're still in like mid-conversation. And then they kind of like walk into, I don't know, the square. And she just like, doesn't say goodbye, doesn't end the conversation, just walks into a group of other people, and he goes, "Oh, I guess the conversation's over."
It's like in the
very
movies,
realistic, though.
Like they never say goodbye in the movies; they just put the phone down, you know.
Yeah, true. But like, it seems kind of like shit like that has happened to me. Like, just people are like, "Yeah, okay," and then they're busy, and you're like, "Okay," that like at work, and then you someone is like talking, and you're like,
basically snubbed him, right?
You got like most of the information that you needed, and then the phone is like ringing, and they're like, oh, then they just take the phone, and you're like, okay, this like everyone's busy, and you just go on with whatever the fuck you were doing, right? I don't know.
Fair.
Yeah, that could be it.
But it's not really explained well. It's just weird. It's like, okay, yeah. So that's like a thought again, right? It already nearly seems like a living. I don't know what that means.
What? Do you mean like a job?
It already nearly seems like a living. I have no idea what that's supposed to mean. He thought as he looked at the playing children and working adults. Like a living.
Maybe he means...
Like...
I don't know what he means.
Like
yeah, I think maybe this is like a German artifact thing. It's like ein Leben. But like people are like doing stuff. Like it seems like they've arrived in this place, and like now everyone seems to know what they're doing. Like people are figuring things out.
Maybe people are making a life for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, like it almost seems like a city, or like a breathing city, or like a civilization, or like some shit. I don't know. Like I don't know. Like they're not surviving anymore. It's like this is like people are doing stuff, I guess. I don't know. They're used to it now. At least that's something it could mean. I don't know what my intention was back then, but whatever. But I mean, he's looking at playing children and working adults, so I guess it's like...
Yeah. I mean, based on the context of the rest of the chapter as well, it seems what you're trying to achieve in this chapter is to show that a bunch of progress has been made, and this is almost a civilization, basically, now. They're kind of on the cusp of being, you know, pretty much just a medieval town.
Yeah, which is kind of boring. Like, I really like the... There's so much of it. I mean, we talked about all the stuff that could have been done with the naked people and all the war background and stuff. And I feel like that's with System Apocalypse stuff, which, I mean, this is like a weird group isekai. Weird. I don't know. This is strange. Which is fine. Like, this could work. It's not that's the bad thing. It's just like, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities that could have been used that were just thrown away with this time skip now. It's like all these things that were set up, and then it also, the problem is it promises stuff to the reader out, like
it's sort of been glossed over very quickly.
Yeah, it's like
in an
like
unsatisfying way.
Yeah. It's like there's explosive arrows, we never see them used. There's like cool mines that listen to people talk and explode according to the language. That's interesting, but we never see them mentioned ever again. And then it's like a different world, and like there's survival, like there's promise of like dangerous forest of like tension, and then suddenly they're like, oh, everything's fine now, we're in this town with a wall. And it's like, I don't know, and like there's a lot of mention of magic and stuff, which is world building, I guess, but we never see any of that. Like we haven't, I mean, we would have seen stuff in chapter 1, but like even that is like, I remember it wasn't as interesting as like the stuff with like the confusion magic or whatever the fuck it was that he talked about, right?
Yeah, the confusion spell.
Yeah. It's like...
Yeah, I mean, basically you had a couple of chapters where they were, you know, huddling for warmth in that cave, and the bear comes for them again, and someone in their group, like, you know, bursts into flame because they've, you know, learned the basic fire spell or something. It's like, oh
shit.
Yeah,
that would be so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a lot of ideas here, but it's just not, and a lot of opportunities, which is sad because you see it and you're like, oh, this could be kind of cool, but like it's just not executed very well, and like just, and you can see myself like going to the next fall, because I guess while I was writing, I was like, oh, I want to get to this point, and then everything else is just forgotten because I was just like, I don't know, just inexperienced.
And that's an interesting point for writers, right? Because like I think some people feel like they have to write their way to a point, and that's when the story begins. But if you feel like you have to write through a bunch of scenes to get to a point and then start your series there, a lot of the time you can actually just start your series from that point.
Yeah.
And people can learn as they go. You don't actually need so much preamble to get them to that point.
Yeah, it's also boring, right? I mean, or it could be boring. The problem is you can do it with all this stuff before, but then there's a lot of possible points where you could
fuck shit
up. Yeah.
Yeah, knowing where to start is always very tricky.
I mean, you just start where you want to tell it. Like you have like this. I mean, that's what Brooke said right now, right? Like, if it's confusing, that's might even be good, because it's like, oh, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is interesting. Like, there's magic flying around.
That can draw people in.
Yeah, like I don't know. You just start with like, oh, everyone like it was cold still. Like Georg didn't know if there was a light, and then the bear comes out of the forest and mauls someone, and you're like, holy shit, what's happening? This is fucked up. This is action.
And you could even, if you really wanted to establish his kind of war background, you could have a flashback. And, you could have him, you could start with a bear attack and somebody spontaneously, getting magical powers, and everyone being, what the fuck? What are these powers? And then, have him be like, only yesterday I was in a, war zone, and now I don't know where the heck I am, and what the fuck's going on, You could even have him say it to somebody else when he's calming them down, like.
Yeah. Or I mean, just show it, like people are suspicious of each other. Then you're immediately, as a reader, like, why are people suspicious of each other? Why are they speaking different languages?
Because that was really interesting as well.
Why is there so much tension between these different peoples? Like, and then you're like, okay, they might have had conflict before, and like you don't even have to say it. I feel like it's. I mean, I like that more when it's like shown in a way that also like leaves it open to some interpretation. Like I think it's fine, because especially if you pan stuff early on, and you know, like for example, like, oh, there was a war, which is like I mean, I had like different countries because it was kind of based on Earth, I guess, because there was like something mentioned with Brazil and stuff. But if it was like fantasy stuff, you can make that up later. Like you can just be like, oh, there was a war before, and like people are tense and they speak different languages. Okay, cool. That's already like, that's enough. You don't need to know more at the start.
You can find out when it becomes plot relevant.
Yeah, exactly. And then people are like, oh, you are.
That's the thing, because readers are always looking for the things they need to know, right?
Yeah.
And so like if you just give them a bunch of information and you're like, you might need to know this, you might not, they're just like, oh, this is boring. If you just give them, this is all you need to know right now. There was a war, you don't need to know anymore. You're like, okay, cool. Bear. Let's look at this bear attack.
Yeah.
Intention is always also more interesting than like readers always want to read about like, danger and things like that. And if you have like everything's going fine, that's good, but it's not a great place to start a book. Everything's going fine, everything's going fine. Like ideally tension or some kind of hook should happen early on. So if you keep skipping the challenges that the civilization is going through, then it's like it loses a little bit of momentum.
But I personally, like, I'm not a fan when it's like constant tension, like when there's like a story that never takes the time to show like it's like slow moments and stuff, because that makes you were going to say that. Real no, I just want to say it again, because I just, this is something that is like, when I read a story, that's like really important to me. Also in movies, like I know that's like when it's like a cinematography choice, but like I love stuff like Blade Runner 2049, where there's like a lot of scenes that are really slow, and you just see like a set piece. And it's like there's nothing happening. And I know a lot of people are like, this is boring. Like why isn't stuff happening? And I'm like, no, this is perfect. This is it. This gives it like so much weight and so much realism. Like just someone arriving and it takes a while for them to get to like the house and stuff. I don't know. And some people are like, this is wasted time, just remove it. And I'm like, yeah, it just really depends what you're trying to do, right?
It depends what type of story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're writing like a, an action thriller and your whole target audience is like, I don't know, teenage boys, then you might want something that's a little bit more fast paced. But at the same time, like if you have like an opening to a book in the first 5 chapters, 10 chapters, 15 chapters, nothing not like action packed, but nothing challenging happens. If there's no issues in the first like 10 or 15 chapters, then you're basically writing a slice of life, right? It's a very specific type of story that you're writing.
Of course.
And if you're not writing a slice of life and nothing happens in the first 15 chapters, then people are going to put the book down if they're expecting something else.
No, I'm just like, what I'm not saying like one thing is better than the other. This is like very subjective. Now I know I'm like a bit weird with that stuff. I feel like there's a lot of rules, especially with like people talking about writing, where they're like, this is how you should do it. And that's like, yeah, of course, like it's going to help if you have like a really good hook and like a lot of like instant action and stuff in like a first chapter. But it's like, it's not a rule. Like you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can just, I mean, there's like one guy on Railroad that writes like a story all in like verse, right? Or what's it called?
Yeah, like,
It's like crazy.
Eric
and it's
Rivers.
It's so cool. It's like
an epic saga.
Yeah, and it's like it just does it. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's like, and I think that's awesome. And I'm like, this is like, especially like with Railroad stuff, it's like people just experiment. They just try. You can do that. Like no one, like you can publish whatever the fuck you want, right? Like it doesn't. I mean,
I think it's like anything. Sell. Like if you execute it well enough, then that you can break any rule, but it has to be. I mean, my personal preference for openings is like if you get thrown right into the action, I don't actually care like about the people getting killed or whatever's happening. I like to kind of know a little bit about them before, and that's always interesting from an action point of view. I find that interesting as well. Like I know some people, and then if there's, you know what I mean? Like if you get thrown right in there, like in the opening paragraph, like you're reading about people that you don't care about. So that's tricky as well.
Yeah, and as the writer, you know them. So for you, it's like this super important scene.
And I've read that quite a lot. But then again, I've seen it done well. So it can work, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I think that's the crux of it that you were saying, right? In terms of like breaking the rules. I think if you're a new writer, it's kind of like the rules are there to kind of like help you structure and put together something in the kind of most risk-free way that's most likely to be accessible to readers. But it's like being a chef, right? You can follow the recipe and you'll get something and it'll probably be okay. But once you become a great chef, you never follow the recipe, right? You add your own spices, you do your own thing, you break a lot of rules to experiment and find new flavors that work together and all that kind of stuff. But you kind of need to know the basics before you can start doing all that, because otherwise you're just going to put together a bunch of stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I agree to an extent. It's just with cooking, like it sucks if you cook something that doesn't taste nice, you have to throw it out. And with writing, that doesn't matter. Like, people are going to read it and they're like, what the fuck is this? But it's like, if it's fun for you to write, like in the end, like if you think about what you've written and you read feedback, and you, I don't know, join writing groups, or you read about writing, or read other people's writing, or just listen to podcasts or whatever the fuck. Like the most important bit is just to keep writing, like just to do anything, and then you're gonna learn something. So I feel like if
it also. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to finish quickly, because if I feel like if I had started with like all these rules, maybe this would have been better, like Dawn. But I don't know how far I would have continued after that. Because I feel like, for me, like all these rules, like with other hobbies as well, like it just takes the fun out of it. Like I like to just do whatever and see what happens. And with cooking, it sucks because then you don't want to throw out all these ingredients that you bought, right? You make it to eat, I guess, as well.
Well, I think one of the things that's great about writing is at the end of the day, all you need is time. It's like a very resource. It's not costing you a lot apart from time to practice writing.
Yeah, and you can recook it, which is weird, right? Like a meal once it's made. Like you can turn back time and go back, but with writing you can. Like you could sit down and make Dawn a different story right now if you wanted to.
Which is actually pretty cool.
You can always do that as a writer. Yeah. Nothing is a lost cause. Nothing is a ruined meal with writing. You can always get better. Everyone's probably got, if they've been writing for a while, old stories, old books that they put away in a drawer. And there's no reason why one day you can't come back to them and turn them into something great. So no writing is ever wasted, which is kind of cool.
And like from my personal experience, like the most I've learned wasn't from like any resource that explained writing, but from like writing like side projects or like side stories and just fucking up, and then getting feedback from people and then being like, oh yeah, okay, and then thinking about it like, why didn't this work? And then I'm like, oh, okay, because that and that, or like the pacing was shit, or like I didn't think about this enough, or like, yeah, I don't know.
I think for because me it was reading. Like I tried to write like what I wanted to read. And I tried to copy my favorite authors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think reading is definitely a massive thing in terms of improving your writing, because you just you learn writing techniques by osmosis if you read a lot. Like, when I was my early days of editing, I could tell somebody the parts of a story that I was like, this doesn't work. But it was hard for me to even tell them why it didn't work. But just as a reader, I knew that like this part of the story, like, this character wasn't too compelling enough, or this plot point, wasn't well paced. And it's just like, this feels weird to me, or, this, and that comes from just having read a lot of stories, and you kind of start to get a feel for, the general way.
You also get way more ideas, and you get inspired, and you're like, fuck yeah, this is awesome, I want to do that too. So then you start, and then you just fuck up until you don't, I guess, or like, or like you're like, oh, this is cool.
Or you just continue fucking up as long as you're having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, as long as, I still feel like it's good if you like somewhat. Like if you showed some humility, I guess, and be like, okay, you're never perfect, and you're like, because I feel like this is like a way for people to deal with criticism. Is just be like, ignore everything and just be like, no, I'm perfect. I'm gonna tell the story that I want to tell, and then it's just shit. Maybe I don't know.
It depends what you want to get out of it. I mean, if you're having a good time, then that's fine.
Oh yeah, of course. Like
whether you want to share it or not. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, of course.
It's like my meals that I make at home. My meals that I make at home are like probably awful to most people, but I'm like, this is sustenance. It takes me 5 minutes to make. It doesn't taste great, but it's good enough for me. I'm happy.
Oh, no.
No. Don't even look at the things that I cook for myself.
I mean, I sometimes just eat crackers.
It's depressing.
Like, just to get like calories, to have energy. I love eating though, like, don't get me wrong. It's just, I'm huge.
There was a period of time where I ate crackers with ketchup.
Why ketchup though?
That was like a dinner.
Horrific.
I
just don't like ketchup too. Like, I mean, what I like still sometimes. This is actually nice, like salad sauce. Is that a word? What's that? Salad dressing, I think it's called in English, right?
Yeah.
Like French style salad dressing that you can buy.
Like a vinaigrette.
Yeah, whatever. With a lot of shit in it. It's really unhealthy. And then you eat it just with bread. You just. Yeah, like soup. But like
that sounds quite nice.
It's fucking awesome, dude. And you can add like olive oil and whatever the fuck, and pepper and stuff.
Especially if the bread's nice.
Sounds like cholesterol.
So yeah, like if you want to do that with your writing, then do that. Like it's like, you can do whatever the fuck you want in your life. This is not like, it's just like,
if you want to write salad dressing and bread, you do you.
Yeah, and that's okay. And yeah, I don't know. But like,
here we go. That's the quote of the
I don't know. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's true. We don't have to talk about writing. Like, we can do whatever the fuck they want. I have like this existential crisis. Like, why do I want to improve? Like, I don't know. And what is improving? Isn't like life about,
Well, it's a very good question. Why do we do what we do? Why are we here?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we can go really far with this. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
It's one of those weeks.
Maybe we should like refocus on like, this is why we have Dawn, which is helpful. Otherwise we just, get lost, or like I get lost at least. Okay, so
yeah, we've done like 3 sentences. Let's keep going.
I mean, it's fine. We decided we don't have to do like a full chapter in one episode, so who cares? We just talk about it. As long as it's fun to talk about, right? Hello, next station.
Yeah.
Okay. He thought as he looked at the playing children and working adults. Why are the children not working, Georg? Again, we did talk about laws, so
because they're civilized.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. this implies that, you know, yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, it implies a certain level of privilege like children do not have to.
Because children did work until like
survive.
100 years ago. That was in like the Western rich world and not like.
We also don't know how old these children are. The playing children could be like 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Or the 17-year-olds playing.
Or he talks about Zoomers, like these 20-year-olds. To him, they're just children. Like,
they're just skateboarding and just like
they're like dabbing
graffiti on some of the fence wall.
They're like dabbing the bears and getting mauled for fun, for TikTok views.
Yeah, for TikTok views.
Let's go beyond the wall. We're gonna get a lot more views. If it wasn't
my fantasy TikTok.
If it wasn't for the sudden killings by bees, you could almost enjoy this. He's so so annoyingly like snarky, edgy? Like edgy. Ugh, it's like
he is very edgy.
Yeah, we get it, man. It's bad.
I just picture him as Bane at this point. With like a bow and arrow.
For the sudden
killings by bees. Has anyone seen the Harley Quinn cartoon series?
What, the Harley Quinn cartoon? I didn't know.
So I'm thinking of Bane from that cartoon series now. So good. Oh god, so good.
Oh no. Oh boy.
No, I'm the Zoomer.
Okay, that's like a super in-joke for like people who have watched that, but if you've watched it, you know what I mean.
Those are the best jokes, right? So now people can go watch it. I can put it on my infinite list of stuff to check out. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just also like the issue with this is also like, I mean, he's edgy. I think that's not bad in itself because it's like a character trait. It's
You're
like
not quite pulling it off though. Like
that's something else. But like, I feel like it's at least a character trait. Like I feel like
he does have personality.
Yeah, like I feel like I failed a lot with characters in even like nowadays. Sometimes when I make up a character and I just don't give them something that feels distinct. It's also like difficult because I mean with like Azure,
you never do that. I mean, characters are always described. They always have their own like facial features and weapons and clothes and way of speaking.
Yeah. It's also it's more an issue that there's like so many and a lot of them just don't matter. So it's like, why would you? True. I mean, when I was writing, I was like, I mean, it doesn't fucking matter. Like here, it's like there's a city. Like, why would I describe every person, right? So it's like that's something you could ask yourself, like because something I'm trying now in my new project is like to just not have as many people, like. Because then you can actually think about them more because it's like a time.
Yeah, well, if you have a cast of 1,000, it's going to be very hard to
make
them not an amorphous blob.
Yeah, like George Martin had like, people for that maintained like the wiki and like gave him like information about like who they were again and stuff. Because I mean, how do you fucking manage that? It's so many people. And they're all so in depth and everything. I mean, it's just like, yes, that's good shit, but it's like so much effort. Like if you're writing, I feel like for me at least, I mean, if I'm posting like several chapters per week of like a web serial, it's just not a good investment of my time from like a mental health business writing, like every perspective. It's just a waste of time. So I just don't do it. Right. And then it's like, you can set up your story in a way where you just don't have to do that. So you can just have a smaller cast, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so it's like edgy in a bad way, but at least it's like personality. The issue is that like he says a lot about all the killings happen and stuff. We did see the bear, that was cool, but like now we're veering into like he's just telling us how the world is.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of the cool stuff that he's told us about.
Yeah, like we just have to believe.
And also, I think it links to the issue about tension and challenge because since we haven't actually seen them go through any hardships, the fact that he's all, life is hard and this is awful, we're kind of like, no, it's not. It's fine. You guys haven't actually, like, nothing bad has happened on screen. You've just told us that it's happened off screen. And so we're just kind of like, why is this guy like, it's kind of like this guy is like walking around with like this permanent like rain cloud above his head and he's everything is doom and gloom, but the rest of the world is all sunshine and rainbows, and we're like, what?
And it's just boring. It's like, it's cool that you're telling us. Why don't we see that though? I don't know. It's like I had like an issue with that. or not just like fantasy stories really like to do that, where you have like this, oh, back in the day, this ancient civilization did this and that. And I'm like, that's way cooler than what I'm seeing now. Like, why aren't we seeing that? Like, oh, the dwarves used to build these huge like castles, and I'm like, yeah, not anymore. Like, I want to see them build that. I want to see, this insane civilization that you're talking about. It's like everything's in ruins, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool as well. But then, like, I don't know, it's just very.
Yeah, I do. That's like one of my favorite tropes. I love ruined stuff.
Yeah,
it was fun.
So, like here, like to fix it, like you can just have a sudden beast attack in this scene.
Yes, I was going to say, like that would be much more fun if some people,
because you could just show that, like, or they're training people, because you can have like a flying harpy or whatever come into the city and attacking
like
someone.
As they arrive, they're like fighting somebody off,
and then people are fighting it and someone gets hurt. You can see what kind of medical levels they have. You can immediately show the technology level that they now have reached. You can show how do they handle it, like people, like entire groups, how they react, like that shows you how the people have adjusted to this lifestyle. You can show the arrows, you can show some skills, you can show some magic if you want to do that. You can show, I don't know, confusion, like the scariness of the magic, like maybe someone throws a fireball and misses, and like a house gets torched and someone gets burnt up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Shit like that. You can show the monsters, like how does the world work? Like, do the monsters act like animals, or are they like worse? Are they like, because he explained like, oh, they attacked the bear and it took like a level 17 to kill them and stuff. You can show like, hey, this is like a game world, like the monster attacks and no one can hurt it. Like, we need to kite it, like everyone's like attacking to get aggro so that they can get like the big guy that has like level 20 who can kill this creature. He's the only one that can actually deal damage, so they have to get him. I think that's like interesting. It's not something that interests me, I guess, to write that, but if you want to do like a very gamey thing, that works as well. And I think that's really interesting to a lot of people, like how to break this shit. Like if it's like lit RPG, like I don't think that's, I mean, I've not read enough, I guess, but it's like exploiting bugs in a video game. Like, I think
it's a huge trope in lit RPG. Yeah. Like, that kind of stuff exists a lot.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
And showing how your system works is important, right? Like right at the start, whether it's an Azurin style system that's more kind of, realistic, or whether it's kind of a very heavily almost VR type system, you want to have an interaction early on that showcases how that works. You definitely don't want to tell people, you want them to show it in action.
That's like, that's like the thing that like in every writing advice thing is like, oh yeah, do show, don't tell. But it's like, why though? And this is why, because it's just way more exciting, and you can show so much with one scene while still creating tension and making it interesting. I guess that's also why it's interesting, because someone saying that, oh, the dwarves built this thing, it's like way more interesting to see the thing and like see like the technology and like so and see them build it, I guess, as well. Yeah, I don't know.
I think
that's really important what you were saying about the reactions as well. Like, if one person dies when this thing attacks during this scene right now, and he's like, oh, great, only one person died. You're like, oh, shit, okay. Shit's getting real, because they're happy when only one person dies. Or if, like, 3 people die, and he's like, oh, God, the devastation, we've lost 3 whole people.
Like,
and you're like, okay.
Oh, thank God 3 people died. Now we can feed the children again for another week. And they're like, oh, this is
it's like, whoa, that's getting really dark.
Yeah. Or like we can try out the resurrection spells finally, or like the more undead for the minds. I don't know. It's like you can do so much, right? Instead of just, oh, we use undead people for the minds. Like, oh, okay, that's weird, but whatever. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, if he mentioned it offhandedly, you'd be like, what the fuck?
That's funny though, again. I like this, like,
it's getting to the point of absurdity where that would actually be quite interesting.
Yeah, but like that's...
If he just goes into a massive diatribe about undead labor rights, I would be like, okay, I'm invested now.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's interesting. I think it's like examples like this help way more to show and not tell that show, don't tell is like how that works and why it works. And why I should consider it, because
I actually just to lob a grenade in there, like I'm like, I feel like the show don't tell advice. I mean, yes, I completely agree with you in the context of Chapter 3, Dawn, but like I do think there's you like show don't tell is also like advice that gets lobbied around a lot, and I definitely think there's times where you
of
can
course.
tell in a yeah.
But that's why it's important to have an example, because if you do it every time, it's like, what the fuck am I reading? Like, it takes ages to explain anything. It's like, I mean, in this case, it would explain a lot in very little. But otherwise, it's like you can just describe the room and just be like, oh, they were those people. Like, it's just you can have exposition in
and I think a lot of it comes down to narrative voice as well, and like how you're trying to convey that information, and how interesting it is, and how whimsical your style is, and also,
like, it can be unclear.
If you take an example.
No, go on, sir.
I'm gonna say, if you take an example of Terry Pratchett, like, he does a lot of telling. Like, he uses those footnotes, he uses these things where he tells you, history of stuff, or he tells you the origins of a word, or he tells you the, whatever. And it's not a scene, it's the narrator literally
and it's super entertaining.
Something that happened. And it's entertaining because it's done well, and it's it's integrated into the story well, and the thing that you learn is relevant to the thing that you're reading, and it adds to your experience. And it's almost weirdly, the way that he tells is actually kind of a version of showing, if that makes sense, like, because it's like it's actually adding a lot of stuff to the thing. And so when people say show don't tell, like, sometimes it's used just so generically that it loses its meaning.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, I think Neil Gaiman also does a fantastic job of telling.
Yeah, I mean, if you do it well, you can do whatever you want, right? There are no.
That's the blanket rule for writing, right? If you're good enough, you can do whatever the F you want. You can not use spaces in your entire book if you do it well enough.
Sure. Absolutely lunatic, though. You can use M dashes in dialogue.
You could use M dashes,
and it's gonna be.
Who would do that? No, it's impossible. Nobody would do that. They'd have to be a psycho.
I mean, I have. No, let's not get into.
All right then. Has he settled sarcastically?
Set the guy with the Homelander profile picture. Right? Where were we? As he settled in his sarcastically happy thoughts. I don't like that.
Well, you were telling us about how edgy he is.
That is exactly what we were talking about. That is cut and dry telling. Because rather than be worse. Like, let us understand.
It's worse because you already have the thought.
Yeah, let us figure it out for ourselves. Trust your readers to.
Yeah, but also it's
basically
repetition.
The author being like, in case you didn't know, he was being sarcastic.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know, it's like, this is bad. Oh no, just remove that. He reached his destination. One of many wooden houses. And this could be like, you could remove the thought above the edgy one and just be like, as he settled in sarcastically happy thoughts. And then you can imagine, like, what could that be? I don't know. Don't think that would be horrible. He reached his destination. So like what kind of mood he's in, I guess. One of many wooden houses.
If he's having sarcastically happy thoughts, you can use that just as a vague description of where he's at. You could do that.
Yeah. And that would also be telling, but it's like, okay. It's like,
it's definitely better than what's currently there.
Yeah. One of many wooden houses, again, like, wonderful description. I mean, not like
very generic.
Yeah, not like, I mean, at least we know it's wooden, the houses.
Yeah, like a wooden house, there's so much room for
a decrepit wooden. And then you can have like different.
And at the moment, in my mind, the settlement is just like a wooden wall and then just empty space, like a couple of like wooden houses. And I don't even know what those houses look like. They're just vaguely made of wood. This is all I basically know. Oh, and there's a square somewhere.
But yeah, I think that's also just the way I imagine stuff. Like, I mean, I think I mentioned this before. I don't know if it's in any of the episodes, but like when I read, like, I sometimes also skip over this stuff. Like, I just don't really imagine, like, I don't know. It's like, for me, that's enough because it doesn't the wooden house isn't important. So it's like, it's just a wooden house. I can imagine whatever. It's like a block.
But then why mention that it's wooden? I don't know. Like wooden, just, I don't know.
Wooden houses. I mean, maybe it's just important that like that's the kind of material they're dealing with. They don't have, that's a technology level, I guess, or like to be like,
I suppose.
Like I imagine like kind of a medieval thing when I think wooden or like, yeah, but
if you see, then you're already imagining more than you've put on the page, because you could say like rough logs or you know.
But that was an issue for me, and it still is. Like I just putting the stuff down so that people get what the fuck I mean, right?
Yeah,
I'm good at it with like fight scenes. I don't know, because then it's like important to me. But with like a house, I'm like, I just struggle so hard to like give shit. To be like, oh yeah, I'm going to describe how it looks like. Also, I think I lack words sometimes. Like I just don't have enough. I don't know how these things are called. Then I need to look it up, and I'm like, okay, it's this and that. It doesn't really fit that well. It's not exactly what I thought of and stuff. And it's like, then I just spent 10 minutes trying to describe like.
It's always interesting because
how the
like
second
I know
floor window looks on the.
Like we've talked about specifically, but I really enjoy descriptions, and you don't.
Yeah. No.
That's funny.
Yeah. It is really interesting, yeah. Also,
just
like how much of it is important.
What our tendencies are.
Yeah. Like this thing, like as he settled in his, or like even just a one of many wooden houses, that could be like an entire, like a 300-word paragraph, like one of many wooden houses, if you just gave a shit, right? And described it well.
It depends how relevant it is, because I wouldn't go into like mad descriptive frenzies of wooden houses unless it was like adding atmosphere or world building or something.
But I feel like if it flows
well, it goes back to the chandelier discussion we had, right?
Yeah.
Like, it goes back to, you know, less can be more, and wooden I think is just not quite enough. But if you said like, you know, the rough log cabin, I'd be like, okay. Yeah, I immediately have an image in my head of a rough log cabin. That gives me enough to go on. But a wooden house could mean a lot of different things. So I'm a little bit too much. I can't really focus on
it's too floaty.
Yeah.
It's distractingly floaty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good term. Distractingly floaty.
That's a good description. Unlike this.
We're getting meta. We're rating our description of descriptions now.
I think it's just interesting. I like thinking about it. I like trying this shit out, like seeing. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. He knocked and entered. Okay, he didn't listen. If anyone, it's just like, okay.
We also don't have like a person appeared and spoke or what they looked like or anything like that. We just have lines of dialogue.
Also, like, you don't know if there's a door or anything. It's just like he knocked and entered. I mean, that's implied, I guess. Like he knocked.
Yeah. See, in my mind right now, I'm picturing a Hobbit house because I can.
Yeah, sure.
I was picturing an empty doorway. Actually, I was picturing him knocking on the door frame and just entering through an empty doorway.
Cool.
Oh, fair.
I love that. That's like, fuck yeah. Like that's what I try to do. I want it to be so open that everyone, you know, it's like an inclusive.
Yeah, it's like
inclusive
what's it, the rough shrank. Well, I can't say it with the butterfly and the ink. It's like we're all imagining our own house.
Yeah, it's a co-authored book. You and the reader are writing the book together with their imagination and your words.
Like the most inoffensive way to write. It's like everyone can have whatever wooden house, because wood is like inclusive. We could make it even like shelter
house.
The house that was made of a material.
One of many buildings. Or like maybe, I mean, what if it's not a building, like den?
A structure.
Like a home. I think home is like something that is like universally human, right? Or what did you say, Brooke?
The dwelling.
Yeah. Because then it's also like, you know,
I feel like dwelling is more interesting of a word than house. Like house is just so plain. House.
It is. Yeah.
So dwelling could be non-humanoid, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Like dwelling is anything. Like slightly whimsical. House is like.
So fairies can read this as well, and they're like happy. Like And
I love our tangents. We managed to go on a tangent just from the sentence "he knocked and entered."
Yeah, that's why it's inclusive writing. It's like this is perfect because you're not distracted
That's why we're all pantsers.
Yeah, I mean that obviously, but you're not distracted by narrative or descriptions or characters or like a story, you just can think.
It's a meditative exercise.
That are writing.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the goal.
Read Dawn, come for the story, stay for the existential crisis.
Yeah. I mean, it is very, very interesting, I think, because there's a lot here that you can talk about. That's like, nothing of this is on purpose, right? Because I feel like if I try to reach that kind of, way of reading by writing something, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I have the skill to create something that would invoke these kind of thoughts and emotions, I guess. Very interesting. So he's talking again. There's an M-dash. Hello, Mr. We don't know who's saying that or anything, but that's, yeah.
Yes, is he saying hello, Mr. to the person, or is the person saying hello, Mr. to him?
Hello, little one. Okay, there's like a description. It's a little one. How are you? It's just, I don't know. Just, hello, little one. How are you? I like that line for some reason. Are you also here to see the fire? Oh, I love it. This is so good. This would be such a great, like, first 2 lines of like a story. Like, hello, little one. He said, how are you? And then, I don't know, the little one looked up with big eyes. Are you also here to see the fire? I don't know. I'm hooked immediately.
I mean, if that was the first couple of sentences, yeah, actually, to be honest, the line, are you also here to see the fire, can mean so many different things.
I love it so much.
So much
my brain is going like sacrifices and like crazy
magic,
some kind of ritual or magical practice.
Yeah, I don't know. Very cool. As a matter of fact, I am. So he wants to see the fire. Very cool. But would you show it to me outside? We wouldn't want to lose the house. So it is like, that's very cool,
that's
actually.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty
like,
cool.
See, this is very showy. This is very like, or he's talking to a little one. So like a kid apparently like unlocked some fire magic or some shit. So he doesn't want to set the house on fire, but he wants to see it. So he's like interested. It's like, oh, this is like magic. That's at least what I'm imagining with this.
Oh. Not unreasonable.
Yeah. That is very cool. I like it. It would be cool to know who's talking and like some descriptions and stuff. Maybe like how the house is inside to show more of like the tech level, like if they even have like furniture made and stuff, or if it's like very, very basic still. Like do they have like a hearth or whatever? It's like, I don't know. Maybe the kid is playing in front of the hearth and like, I don't know, you can see the flames moving in a different pattern or some shit. That would also be like cool. And then the kid turns around and it's like, are you also here to see the fire? And they're like, fuck, this is like a psycho kid that's gonna murder everyone. I don't know.
Carrie.
Yeah. We've already had a kid like kill a bunch of wolves, so wouldn't be necessarily out of the realms of possibility.
And all of the soldiers pillaged the soldiers. Didn't, but it's like my canon. Yeah. I could write fan fiction where that happens. Not again, at least. Brett burned 3 down already. Yeah, I mean, that's good. I like that. Like a good thought. It's like this little piece of shit. But it's also like, he doesn't really give a shit. It's like, yeah, this fucking idiot.
He's all like, oh, hello, little one. How are you? Fucking Brett.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to offend the kid with fire magic.
I guess so.
Brett burned 3 down already. I mean, it is interesting. Like, it's like something that is usually not really. I mean, it's like, oh, fireman, we have magic now, cool. And it's like, yeah, but what about like water damage to the house, like, or like, I don't know, air pressure with wind magic and like, yeah, burning shit down with fire magic. It's like it can go wrong pretty easily. Like, yeah.
I also see why you specified it was a wooden house now. Like, because it was relevant to the fire.
It was relevant.
I suppose, yeah.
Like we own.
That is
house.
That is way too concise. Like, no, I want to have unnecessary things in there. I don't like that. What did I do? That's wrong. Like, what do you mean only relevant things? No, I want irrelevant stuff. While the initial construction of Hofen was on the way, sudden fires led to confusion. So I'm explaining now what's already been shown, I guess. Maybe the confusion wasn't shown, I guess. But like, turns out the arsonist was an 8-year-old boy using magic. Yeah, I mean, this is like, again, like telling what's already like kind of shown. I mean, we don't know that he's 8 years old.
Yeah, like, you could do this.
Like, not again, like this 8-year-old brat burned down 3 already. And
you could have his parents there being like, we're so sorry, like we didn't know this power had manifested or like whatever, as opposed to just him being like, this is what happened.
Yeah. But I mean,
or like he and Agrid could walk past like the charred remains of all the houses that had, there's like lots of ways they could have showed.
I mean, he has the thought already, so like not again at least. And then it's like, yeah, but at least people know now that, you can have like a name for the kid as well, like burnt down so many houses, or it's like the one with fire magic, I guess. Yeah. Also, like interesting that like an 8-year-old would get magic, which is like that's like that's interesting, like as a world thing, because like then you have kids running around with like dangerous tools, like because with the confusion magic implied, that's bad. Like you can have like this eldritch horror kid that just starts killing people or something, dark. And then you have like who controls this kid, and like people are it's fucked up. Yeah, presumably the first human magic caster. Yeah, I mean it's like fine, it's like whatever. It didn't cause as much of an uproar as one might expect, because people were still struggling with surviving, but many tries to learn and failed. Yeah, it's fine. I don't really see an issue with that. It doesn't cause as much of an uproar, but like at first they're confused, and then like it didn't cause an uproar. It's like, well, what is it now? It's like, is it like, what am I trying to say here? It works like both make sense, I guess. Like, oh yeah, it led to confusion, but it was not as much of an uproar as they might have expected. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Also, like it should be an uproar, or like I feel like it would make sense for people to be like, oh holy shit, there's like magic here. Like this is
exactly,
because it's huge. It's like, and it's like a
they're all very blasé.
Yeah. It's like whatever. It's like, oh yeah, well, obviously this is like a game world, so yeah, there's magic, and people didn't like care because
this happens to us every Tuesday.
Yeah, it's like the story. All the stories I read have that, so that's just there now. Here you go. Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome to Jurassic Park. Because people were still struggling with surviving, but yeah, it could also be like, I don't know, shown like maybe the people that are you also here to see the fire, and then he's like, okay, did more people come? Like, did they try to figure something out about how to learn the magic and stuff? I don't know. There's just a lot that could be.
Well, it's also like
it would cause an uproar, right? Like, I mean, because you don't necessarily take for granted that magic is just going to be something that they're going to know here, right? Like, even if monsters start attacking you, you're not going to immediately jump to the idea that, hey, maybe we can learn magic. So, like, if this kid starts just throwing fireballs around, you're going to be like, what the fuck?
And, like, is it only kids that can do it? Or
is exactly. Like, is it only children? Like, because does this imply that only kids can learn it? Yeah. Like, there's a lot of questions.
And I feel like people would immediately start, testing weird shit like rituals and like whatever folklore they knew about. Like there's like people that are doing like scientific testing, and then you have like, how the fuck do we, what are the rules? Like, are there like laws? Are there going to be laws about all these things? Like, yeah. And you can like imply all that stuff without like having to actually explain everything, or like actually plan and like do the world building in a way that makes perfect sense. You can just mention it at least, so that it's like, oh, that's interesting. Like, this is fucked up, and like because it is like an interesting thing, but here it's just whatever. Yeah, as you say, like very blasé. Little one might make it to Archmage one day. Okay, that's just like what? Like this is
that implies that he knows.
Yeah,
like the progression path. And how.
Yeah, it's just already like this is what it is, and it's like you can start with that again. Like if it's like, oh, I don't know, are you also here to see the fire? And you're like, he's like, oh, this is like one of the Archmage, candidates. And you're like, oh, okay, so they're like testing kids for their magic power, and like they've already figured that out. Like, I don't know, could be interesting, but here it's just like What?
Plonk.
Here you go. I mean, maybe he's making a joke. Like, but it's weird. He doesn't with his seem character. Funny. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Georg doesn't seem like a funny man to me.
No, that's just. I think that was the implication. Like that's what I tried to do, because my characterization was just not there. So I was like, "Oh, this is funny." So I'm gonna put in like an Archmage joke, because it's like a high level mage thing. Like, yeah. Like,
interesting.
It makes sense from like a lit RPG kind of perspective. Like someone that, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, like
Gray,
you let like, yourself slip.
Like Gray from Infrasound would make that joke, maybe. Yeah. Because it's like, it's shown that he knows these things. So he would make a joke and then someone else would be confused. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? Okay, can you show me the flame again and try to explain to me how you do it? I just think of the flame and then it comes. I don't know what's so hard about it, you fucking idiot. Just do it, man. Just summon the flames, man. I mean,
it's what a kid would sound like.
Yeah.
8-year-old.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. Like, I mean, that's just like, the part where he's like, I don't know what's so hard about it. Like, if a kid is 8, he just tried to do something and it happened, he'd be like, why can't everyone do this?
Yeah.
This is easy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If the first time as a kid I tried to cast a fireball, and I have tried to cast a fireball many times as a kid, if it like actually happened, I would have just been like, sweet, so that's how you do it. Because I was certain that there was a way to do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to cast one right now.
That if I just tried enough.
And for me it was the force. I wanted to fucking force push shit.
Oh, I wanted to force choke people. I try to do that often.
Yeah, you can just choke people, right?
Yeah, but not in like public spaces or like classroom situations. If you're like, frowned upon.
Yeah, but Star Wars is so well known. Like they would immediately be like, "Holy shit, she's force choking them."
You put it like you put your hand under the table, or you put your hand behind your back, and then you force choke.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that works. Like you have to. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of to go off, do we?
No, we shouldn't start this conversation on force choking canon, because people are fucking. They're gonna be fucking raging.
That's true. There's probably someone out there.
Someone's already frothing at the mouth. Like, that's not how it works. There's like books on this. I have not read the force choking.
Seemingly, we do not know what we're talking about.
I mean, obviously not. No, I'm not a Star Wars lore master, level 14 Archmage.
Why not?
It just takes time, It's like you have to balance your life.
You have to apply yourself. Yeah.
I have other things to do, like making coffee, shit like that. I don't know. Okay, where were we? I mean, yeah, the line is good. I also think it's like a good kid line. Like it's like, this is a kid. I think that's something I fucking hate. And especially in lit RPG, especially in stories where it's like they have like kid characters, because maybe the character is like reborn in like a baby body, and they're like, obviously they're like smart, but like they interact with other kids, and it's just like so often like the kids are just way too smart,
obnoxious, or too smart. It's interesting. I was going to say, like, I find like writing children and teenagers is very interesting, because if you get too realistic, they're awful to read. And I'm thinking a little bit of
it
like
depends
Harry Potter
how you do
and
it,
Order
right?
of the Phoenix.
Yeah, like if all your characters are kids, then it's shit. Because why would you want?
But like how realistic, like you want to be, like it's an interesting.
But it's usually just small scenes, like you have like someone's dealing with a kid, and then the kid says something.
Well, it depends. Like, okay. Yeah, it depends how important the child is to your narrative.
Yeah.
But like I feel like there's a point where you don't want it to be too realistic because.
But it's similar to like TV shows produced in America where they're supposed to be in high school or something, and everyone's like 28, and you're like, what the fuck? It feels like that. It's like, okay, can this character not just be an adult? Like, why is this character not just 18? Because it's just weird. It's like, don't. And if all your characters are supposed to be that age, it's like, yeah, okay, it's just weird. I don't know. I can see this won't go anywhere. Simple improvement of intelligence or wisdom stats won't do it. Okay, so that's like Yeah, I mean that's like telling that's okay because it's like it's like there's intelligence and wisdom stats. I mean we would know about that from chapter 1, but if we wouldn't, I think it's okay to introduce it that way because it's like
I
don't know. Some people already tried that. Yeah, I mean that's implied by saying that it won't do it, I guess. But yeah, whatever. There must be a class connected to fire magic and therefore other types of magic. That's just he's just assuming. So it's like, is there or not? Like, do I want to tell that to the reader, or is it just like, because here is where there's like this being unsure about stuff is actually a problem.
That doesn't bother me because he's like thinking about it. That's, I don't know, it feels quite natural.
Yeah, I mean, it raises the question of how much he knows about how things work in this world. But other than that, like, it's largely okay, right? He knows that largely this world works kind of like a video game. The assumption that there must be a class connected to fire magic and other types of magic kind of is fine.
Yeah, but the problem is that is how it is. Like, I know that as the one that wrote this shit. So it's like, why not just say...
Making a guess that it happens to be correct, which is maybe a little bit convenient.
It's just, I don't know. He could just be like, because I mean there is confusion magic, so why would this not be known? It's weird. It doesn't make it's
yeah, that's a good point actually. He knows magic exists, so like he doesn't need to draw.
But again, this would be like an interesting start to the story. Like the whole like, there's a boy with fire magic, and it's like, where are we? What's going on? And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't know, but still not as good as the bear. Yeah. Sheer possibility is incredible. That's me thinking that while I was like, oh shit, dude, this is huge. But it's also kind of
like that is definitely telling again. Like, I would much rather see people's expressions when they see the magic, or like people's reactions to magic, or the first time someone sees magic and like everyone goes, whoa, as opposed to him just being like, the possibility is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd cut that.
Damn shame he can't read. I just love that joke. This like, it's from this cartoon I've never watched, but it's like this meme with the like there's like a sign that says like "Don't enter" or something, and she's just like,
oh yes,
this would be a problem if I could read. I don't know. And the joke's just funny to me. Damn shame he can't read, and whatever shapes he scribbles in the dirt are unintelligibly what? That's an interesting. Those are interesting letters lined in a row. I mean, the shapes is a problem because everything's squares, right? But
I'm pretty sure most 8-year-olds can read a little bit.
I mean, this is interesting though, because that there was a war. Like, people might not have had the resources and time to actually educate stuff, which would again be interesting world building, but. It's like,
or the author was unacquainted with 8-year-olds.
Are you implying I'm unacquainted with 8-year-olds?
It's a possibility.
Some of my best friends are. No, wait, that's bad. I mean, yeah, it's just whatever. Damn shame you can't read. I think it's interesting because it's like, you can see the status in your head. So that's like an interesting thought that like a kid's figuring shit out would not. But then does the kid not have does the system not care for that? Because that's usually how it is, right? Like when you have like other species and like other like beings that have access to the system, they can still interpret it, like even if they have never learned to interpret like numbers or anything. I think that was a thing in Delph, right? Where Delph, where they didn't have 0, I think, in their number system, and he figured some stuff out because. He I think it was Isekai, right? So his understanding of numbers and mathematics allowed him to figure some shit out that other people didn't immediately get to because they have like different education, like a different system. Like from
gaming the system is a pretty common trope, especially like intelligent people coming in and figuring out something that someone else.
But it's usually done in a very like, he just gets it for some reason, and it's like it's not that weird of a thought. But I feel like in Delph, to me at least when I read it, and maybe I'm just stupid, but like I feel like it was well done. Like it made sense to me. Like, oh, this could actually be realistic, I guess.
Yeah, it's like plausible.
Yeah. But I guess the system here doesn't adjust for that. Yeah. Classes seem, but I mean, realistically, this is just me not wanting to figure it out, like to write like a class for these kids, right? Okay. Classes seem to activate in certain circumstances, but it's really too random to determine, except maybe archer or knights, but even those only pop up very sparsely. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that.
Just, it's like it's world building / data dumping through the character's thoughts, which I would usually only do very, very kind of sparingly. But I mean, he is analyzing a situation right now where he's like, I want to know how this fire mage came to be. So the fact that he's recalling things that help in that piece of analysis, it's not bad per se.
Let it slide.
But I mean, he could have had archer and knight shown already in the fight against the imaginary harpy, right? But I mean, that would be a good place to show stuff, different magics and stuff. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for the show. I'll visit you again sometime. That's creepy. Learn your alphabet diligently, you fucking idiot kids. I love that.
I would also like to point out that you didn't describe the fire magic at all.
That's a good point.
It was just
a lot of the times, like dialogue. When he has dialogue, he uses dialogue to like be the description. So we don't actually get any description of the brat. We don't get any description of the house except that it's wooden. We don't get any description of the fire magic. We just get dialogue suggesting that stuff is happening.
Yeah.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I mean, honestly, it's fine.
Oh my goodness. It's like I want to see the fire magic so badly.
Yeah, all right. I mean, yeah, it would be good to see the fire magic and stuff, yeah, but that's different. It's like I'm still okay with the wood.
I also love that an 8-year-old is learning the alphabet, like what 5-year-olds learn.
Yeah, but again, you're just like, this is just privilege, dude. This talk from you guys, like, just like taking all of our education for granted, like. What the fuck, man?
Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay. Funny though. I seem to enjoy this more than the war. Oh, I mean, what a surprise. What the fuck? It's like...
I mean, it would be really weird if he enjoyed war more than just living in this random city.
Like maybe he's like, I want to kill. I don't know where I am, but I need to kill. Might just be that hope wasn't the absolute worst words they could have chosen. Oh, I mean...
That is such a manufactured line where you're like, when you wrote that, I bet you were like,
yes. Look at me.
And you can tell, you can feel the author smiling to themselves as that line goes.
I still like it though.
Yes. Oh my god.
It's kind of cute because it's Georg. He's like this war-torn, edgy guy.
Oh,
like,
you still like it.
Finally, he's like, oh, there's hope, you know? It's like positivity from him for the first time.
It's like the other thing is like, you've kind of created 2 whole words because we don't know about the other world at all. And then you've got this one, so you're sort of referring the other one.
Because the Hour of Hope is based on the original world,
yeah.
Right?
No.
It's like so much going on because, like, you know, normal isekai situation, at least you know it's coming from our world.
Yeah.
Well, hey, okay. I mean, like, we finished chapter 3.
We got there.
It took us another hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, we did it. We did the thing. Next time we can maybe there's a different POV. I want to check now who's the next guy. For Sophia, I don't remember her at all. So that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Probably. Oh my god, I'm scared of.
Spoiler for our next one.
I'm scared of what's to come.
Should we do an outro?
Yeah, let's do an outro. You can do the outro.
All right. So you have been listening to The Dawn of Writing. Hopefully you enjoyed the rest of chapter 3 and some amazing yet mostly unfounded tangents. As always, I have been Brooke, and joining me we have
Rhaegar. Hello and goodbye.
And goodbye.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.